Well, good morning, everyone. I am Robert Paylor's father, Jeff Paylor. First and foremost, I want to thank you for being here, taking time out of your day. I really wish Robert could be here, but unfortunately, he's already working hard. He's going through treatment and therapy all day long, all night long. So he's not getting a lot of sleep, but I was able to talk to him and some other family members to kind of show you where we're at, where we're going. We felt about every emotion humanly possible these past few weeks, but in the end, it's been the outpouring of love and support that's getting us through such a challenging time. We really wanted to make sure everyone had a chance to hear from Robert's physician, Dr. McKenna, Dr. Chow, Cal Berkeley's rugby coach, Dr. Jack Clark, and myself on how things are going. Ever since seeing Robert laying lifeless on the field, we've come from being broken to having hope. We've been so overwhelmed by the love and support from our family, friends, and strangers across the nation and the world who have reached out to Robert and our family through such a difficult time that no one fathoms they'll ever face. Many of the people we've heard from don't know Robert, but were impacted by him and his story. Some are parents, some are patients that have gone through this and really want to be there for him to share his journey as best they can. Growing up, Robert always had a smile on his face, and he still does. His biggest accomplishments weren't necessarily on the football field, the rugby field, or in the symphonic band, but rather his relationships with others in connection with God. Robert is a complete man of faith. In fact, his first phone call on that fateful Saturday night was for us to get his iPhone, look up the number of his priest so that we could hold it up to his ear and he could ask for blessings and ensure that communion could be there for him on Sunday. He's a fighter. He's goal-oriented, will never give up attitude. All he talks about is getting into rehabilitation to get started on his recovery. He doesn't ask why this happened or dwell on what life could be. If it wasn't in this situation, at the point of injury, he just knew that his life had taken a different path, and he's accepted that future. As Robert embarks on a new journey, we cannot thank you enough for your love, encouragement, and support. We want to thank the medical personnel at Santa Clara Valley Medical Center for the best care possible, the University of California and Cal Rugby team, Jesuit High School, and the countless number of guardian angels who know who you are. With that, I just really want to ask that you please continue to keep Robert in your prayers, as this is going to be a very long and lengthy process. And God bless you all for being here. Thank you.
Say your name again, please.
Jeff Paylor, Robert Paylor's father. I'd like to introduce Cal Rugby's coach, Jack Clark. Thank you, sir.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jack Clark. I don't have a formal statement to offer. This is new territory for our athletics department and for our rugby team. I've coached around 2,000 rugby games and haven't ever been in this situation. So just trying to learn as I go. I can share with you that Robert was a starter on our rugby team as a sophomore. That doesn't happen very often. He's a very good rugby player, and he's a better teammate. His teamship qualities are extraordinary. He's a recognized scholar athlete at our university. He's a very, very good academic student, as well as being has all hit us pretty hard, and we're standing shoulder to shoulder with Robert and his family right now, all of us trying to make our way through this. Thank you.
So I'm Dr. Steve McKenna. I'm one of the critical care physicians here at Valley Medical Center, and we're very fortunate to run a center that takes care of hundreds of patients a year who have spinal cord injuries. Robert was injured in a rugby match here in Santa Clara and was brought here initially for a stabilization. He was able to be treated with a very advanced surgical technique for removal of part of the compression of his spinal cord. A very small piece of hardware was put into his spine in order to establish stability and allow the bones to heal over time. I've been asked to address a little bit of Robert's prognosis and what we expect for the future. I've talked with Robert about that, and Robert's very fortunate in the sense that he has what we call an incomplete spinal cord injury, which has a great deal of potential for natural recovery. Each person who has that injury has their own journey to cover, and that journey is going to be a long one. There are going to be different phases of the care. Right now, we're finishing the time where Robert would be in our critical care setting. We expect that this week he would be able to graduate into rehabilitation. He'll have a full team to be able to take care of him and provide him ongoing therapy. And build up his strength. We'll be getting him into a gym and having him do exercises that are appropriate for the type of injury that he has. Over the next year, Robert's going to continue to improve. The extent to which that's going to improve is really going to be dependent on his effort and his injury. Having known Robert for the last few weeks, I know that the effort that he's going to bring to that process of recovery is going to be extraordinary. With that, I'd like to thank the family. He's had a wonderful support from the family. I've had a chance to meet some of his friends and teammates from Cal Berkeley, where I was also an alumni and really proud to have graduated from. And in the future, we'll continue to be available to provide Robert with the best chance of getting back not only to home, but the community and back to Berkeley. Back to being a student and achieving the things that are important for him in his life. Thank you.
Okay, so now we'll take a couple questions.
Doctor, can you just describe, is he able to move his arms or fingers, or?
Yeah, do you feel comfortable
Yes.
with me giving an update about that?
I do. I appreciate the question.
So Robert has an incomplete injury, and the good news about that is that he has sensation that goes through his entire body all the way down to his toes. His muscle strength is not as complete as his sensation. He has strength in his biceps, the muscles that would allow him to bring his arms up to his face. He has some ability to move his wrists. As you move further down into his triceps, or the muscles that would extend his arms, that has some limited function. At the level of his hands at this point, he doesn't have observable movement of his hands. With the type of injury that he has, we would expect him to have some degree of recovery naturally over the next year. That could include some recovery of his hand function. Patients with this type of injury face a very difficult problem in that their recovery is extremely individual. And I was sharing with Jack, the coach, that we've seen patients who've had spinal cord injuries from gymnastics events, which would have similar mechanisms. Within months, sometimes they can move their toes. In a very fortunate situation, sometimes those patients can walk. I think it's very important, and I've been very clear with Robert that what I want to do with him and what the rest of the team will do with him is provide him with honest information about how he's progressing, what's happening in the next few weeks to months, and that recovery is really going to give us an ability to give him a personalized idea of what we would expect his recovery to be over time.
And how fortunate was it that he was able to come to, his injury was at Santa Clara University, was very close to a facility
Santa Clara Valley Medical Center is a center that conducts research on spinal cord injury with a variety of different types of treatments, including stem cell treatments, which are first-in-human, early cutting-edge treatment. Robert is not at this time eligible for those types of treatments. There's been a lot of research that's been done in the nation and specifically here at Santa Clara Valley about mechanisms of promoting recovery, like increasing blood pressure, managing blood pressure in very specific ways after injury. Those protocols were implemented when he arrived. His medical management has been directed to bring the most cutting-edge therapies that we have available for spinal cord injury. The type of surgery that he had was done very early after his injury. Fortunately, he was injured very close to the hospital. He was immediately transported here. Without delay, the surgeons decompressed the spinal cord and provided stability with hardware. We're acquiring more and more information over time that going to centers that can perform these types of decompressions within the first 24 hours and even earlier is incredibly important in the process of recovery. Each individual is going to have their own course, but the fact that after having those early interventions, Robert's has sensation in his toes is an excellent sign that his care is getting him to the best possible level of function he can achieve.
What sort of milestones are there, and is he reaching any of those at this point yet?
The milestones that Robert's reaching right now have to do with his medical health. He's been transferred out of the surgical ICU into a unit that we call the Rehabilitation Trauma Center. That's allowed him to do rehabilitation while we've managed his blood pressure and brought a team of nurses who specialize in that type of care. The next milestone for Robert is going to be moving into rehabilitation. I was speaking with his physician, his physiatrist physician, Dr. Chaw, today. We anticipate that that could happen as early as today. During the process of rehabilitation, we'll continue to do neurologic exams to identify the baseline where Robert's starting and on an ongoing basis the type of muscle strength that he's getting back. Specifically, we'd be interested in seeing how his function in his hands recovers. That's one of the most important areas for becoming independent and being able to do things like go to school without support systems. Fortunately, Berkeley has an excellent support system to be able to provide scribes, people that can go to the classrooms and help people with this type of injury be completely independent in school. So I'd anticipate that that's going to be a long-term objective for Robert, but something that is going to be very important for his emotional, mental, and spiritual health going forward.
The fact that this person, the fact that
Mike,
he was,
let's do Mike first.
the fact that he was a physically fit athlete, does that help? How does that change the outcome?
The question was, does being a physically fit athlete in and of itself help somebody with the injury? And there's no way to really say exactly that part of it, but I would say that Robert brings an amazing spirit to the type of challenges that he's facing. Dad, do you mind if I share just an anecdote? One of the things that's really been critical for Robert's recovery has been dealing with his lung issues, his lung problems after having a high injury. And I asked him if he would feel comfortable trying to do something that might be a difficult and potentially uncomfortable breathing treatment. And Robert looked at me in the eye and said, "I've done harder things." So he brings the type of spirit that we would expect as he gets recovery. He's going to do everything that he possibly can to maximize that. And I think that that spirit and that grit to really get through this and to reach his potential is going to serve him well.
Doctor, can you describe more the nature of what it means and what stage is his spine and what are the challenges that he needs to also describe
So we broadly characterize spinal cord injuries into two categories. We categorize them as either being complete or incomplete. Complete injuries are injuries where we don't get evidence of sensation at the bottom of the nerves that come out from the spinal cord. Robert has what we call an incomplete injury because he has sensation that goes through his entire spinal cord. And what that implies is that he has some degree of health of his spinal cord, which is allowing signals to go from the very bottom of his spinal cord up to his brain. We would like to have those signals also be able to go down from his brain to all of his muscles. He's not at that point right now. People who have sensation that go all the way to the bottom of their spinal cord have a better better chance of having recovery of those types of strength in their hands and eventually in their feet. So we can see that with this type of injury. Each of these injuries is very unique to the person, and I would say that I'm very hopeful that as we get more information and see some of the milestones that Robert can meet in the next month, we'll be able to give him a very good idea of specifically where he'll arrive at with that injury. You asked a question about the type of surgery that was done. In his accident, he had two bones in his spinal cord, the C5 and C6 vertebra, moved relative to each other. That caused the disc between them to be pushed against the spinal cord. Surgeons at Valley Medical Center were able to make an incision and take that disc out. They replaced that space with a type of bone matrix that allows the bones to heal. And in order for the bones to mend, they have to be essentially casted. Robert didn't have the typical type of rods that might be placed at a center with less experience. He had a very small triangular cage placed at the bridge between the C5 and C6 vertebra. Screws were then advanced through that bridge into the two vertebrae to provide stability. And over time, the bone matrix that was put in place should allow the C5 and C6 vertebra to fuse and become stable.
Any other questions?
That it's a little complicated to address exactly that.
Hear it.
Here's all of this. Robert, aware of all this. How is he taking the news, which the doctors, is this right?
He's taking it like a warrior. Robert's part of, had contracted pneumonia that may not still be completely gone. That's where, he had spent a lot of time up into the trauma rehab center. But involved in that is 2-hour sessions of excruciating, pumping on, under the rib cage to try, because he doesn't have the ability to get what he can out. So he's enduring a lot. Yeah, but when I look at him, it's just something he's got to do, and he's just taking it and with a goal in mind. He's very goal oriented. He knows he wants to get to where he needs to be, and whatever he's got to do, he'll do it. But I think just that spirit and that soul, there's not one person that has visited him or talked to him that they walk out and they just feel like, wow, that's just no one I've known has that spirit, has that drive to understand what happened to them, deal with it, accept it, and want to go to work.
Does that help you, sir?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I'm ready to go to work with him. It's a life-changing experience. He was my life, from Little League coach to all the football stuff, and working with him every day. Never had a meal without him, when he's home. And so, grabbing onto him now and just knowing that I can be a part of that work with him, I'm ready to go too.
Mr. Paylor, what do you?
I think he gives me hope. He gives me hope that whatever he's able to push and challenge himself, that human spirit, I don't know that many people that can do that, yet alone a 20-year-old kid. So with that, and just that never say die attitude, I don't think anyone has ever worked harder than him. He'd go to rugby practice and sneak out after eating to put in another 2 hours to be better than everyone else, to be the best he could be. And I think just knowing that he has that in here in his soul gives me hope, and I know he's going to make it.
Mr. Paylor, the Jesuit High School, they devoted their championship to your son. Did he get to see the game, and how did he react to that?
He reacted with a lot of excitement. So they put together a Paylor strong wrist. You've probably seen that on the news. It was beautiful in that Gonzaga and Jesuit have met in the championship game, I want to say the last 4 years. We won Robert's sophomore year, the first year he ever played rugby. Was the MVP at Jesuit High School, and Jack Clark got his eye on him probably back then. But then lost his junior and senior year. So to see Gonzaga and Jesuit take the field, and before anything occurred from a game perspective, we're in a circle saying a prayer together, dedicating it to him. It was a well-fought game. It's pretty inspiring that, you know, the kids that gave their interviews and probably had the biggest highlight of their, you know, young athletic careers, put it back to Robert. You know, when they could have a chance to really talk about their goals and what they achieved, it was about, you know, the inspiration and what they gained from that young man to, you know, help get the W.
Did your son say anything about the fact that it was dedicated to him? What was his reaction to learning that?
Just blown away, just proud. You know, Jesuit's motto is be a man for others, and I think he was just in awe that he saw that come to life. So he was beaming. Yeah, thanks for asking. It was pretty exciting for him.
Okay. No more questions? Jeff provided a photo from Robert yesterday. I've emailed it to some of you, but Marianne, I think too. Glenn, I think I got you, so check your phone. So let me know so I can email it to you, your emails that come up. And that concludes the press conference. Thank you guys very much.